All right, Shalom. Before we get started, we're going to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Wadash, and double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, the teacher and rule well. Peace and citation to those four elect. Back another video, another lesson. And I got this article pulled up from End Time Headlines, and it says, half of Americans say the fun in their lives has disappeared. And this is a I seen that, I was like, okay, this made me thought of different scriptures that I have. Isaiah 24, Ecclesiastes, Second Address, And I titled it "The Lord Has Removed the Mirth from America." All right, because as you know, we're in these last days, and and being in America, period, or just in America, if you travel the world, you'll probably seen different things. But if you're someone like me who's stayed in America, you notice the difference from when you're younger and when you're a grown up now. When I was younger, people were celebrating everything. It was more lively, as I should say. The holidays were better, but even as I got older, they started to die. They started to die out. But when I was younger, they were, I ain't say it meant something, but it was more, fun, as you want to say. It was more mirthful, right? Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. Like, the streets would be filled. Halloween, you go out, streets are filled with kids. Children, mothers and fathers taking their children to get candy. Thanksgiving, you go to see the family. Christmas, toys and everything. 4th of July, Memorial Day, cookouts, everything. But now, ever since the pandemic, 2020, ever since that happened, everything has died down. Not even just holidays, but going to like the park and the water, the pools, which I still, fun to do, but it's not the same as it used to be. Going to the amusement park, I've never been to a concert, but I'm sure concerts, they're not the same. But this says, according to a report from study funds, nearly half of U.S. adults are struggling to find joy in their routines, with financial pressures and overwhelming schedules emerging as primary culprits in what researchers describe as a growing national fund deficit. And nowadays the economy is like, it was bad, before, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. The elder, he tells us back then you could, you could work at somewhere that the minimum wage may be like $3, but everything was affordable. You can go to your local store. You can damn near buy the whole store with your with the amount of money you had. Get a loaf of bread, some milk. You probably get like two of everything back then. But now, you go to the store. Let's say you go to Safeway or wherever you live, your local store. You go in there, get some bread, some milk. If you want to be healthy, you buy some fruit, vegetables. You get some chicken, some beef, and maybe some snacks for yourself, or the kids, or your woman. Those 6 things right there can equal up to what, $60, $70. You just bought 6 things from the store. You didn't even get a whole cart. You bought six items. And that costs you what, $80 now? And that's in the scriptures. We can get that. This is in Revelation, right? Is it I want to say 6. Yeah, this is Revelation 6:5. It says, and when he had opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And the horse, black, they equate black to like death, right? And lo, a black horse means power. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny." Right? And see, thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Let's read this in the NLT version. It says, yep, Revelation 6:6. "Now I heard a voice from among the four living beings say," which are the angels, "A loaf of wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay. And don't waste the oil, and don't waste the olive oil and wine." So a loaf or a wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay. You know, and nowadays what minimum wages now? What, like, I can't even tell you. I'll say like what? Man, we can look it up. Minimum. I'll do minimum wage in Maryland, right? Minimum wage in Maryland is $15 per hour. So, you go to the store, it's gonna cost you what? Well, going on as we go on in this society, shit, a loaf of bread is gonna cost you what, $100? Cause that's super inflation. Now you think it's bad. Now wait till all hell breaks loose, man. So yeah, that's a part of it. It says the national survey conducted by Talker Research on behalf of Dave & Buster's paints a concerning picture of American leisure time. Released on May 26, 2026, the findings show that 48% of respondents feel their lives are seriously lacking in fun, while 12% cannot remember the last time they enjoyed a completely free day. Yeah, because people are overwhelmed. People in America are mourning. They complain that the gas prices are high, rent is high, right? Jobs not even hiring. The job market is terrible. People got to worry about bills, car insurance. People have kids now, and that's a bill itself. So people have more things to worry about. But I'm pretty sure before, back in the 70s, the 80s, 90s, the early 2000s, they had things to worry about, but it wasn't as much of a burden. You see what I'm saying? But now, these things, in this economy, these things add a burden to you. You add a burden to yourself. You don't have time you can't go on vacation like you used to. You don't have much as free time as you did, in 2010. It says cost stands as the dominant barrier cited by 57% of participants, followed by packed schedules, work demands, and burnout. Among those who say having fun has become harder than a decade ago, representing 52% of the sample, 51% pointed to reduced affordability of activities, while others noted shrinking social circles and increased responsibilities. Yeah, and like I said, once that pandemic came, a lot of people, they changed. A lot of people changed after 2020. So a lot of people that self-diagnose themselves with anxiety and depression, which that's a serious, depression is a serious thing. But that's you sat in the house. They shut the world down. They had you in the house some people were by themselves. Nobody to talk to. So their social skills were lessened, if that's a word. I'm trying to put it in the best words I can. It says when fun does occur, the benefits prove substantial. 72% of those surveyed reported reduced stress levels. 57% felt more motivated, and 89% said shared experiences strengthen relationships. Many participants estimated they would need roughly 17 additional hours per week to restore balance to their lives. It says, we've also believed that fun is one of the most powerful ways people connect, said Melissa Powers, vice president of marketing at Dave and Buster's. So the and this is the Lord's doing. Let's get Isaiah 24:11. Because the Lord said He will take away the myrrh from this place. I'm gonna start at I'm gonna start at 7. It says, "The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh." We know what merry-hearted means, right? Let's look that up if we don't. Okay, merry-hearted, joyful, merry, glad, joyful, showing joy. You who rejoice. Okay, gleeful. So all the merry-hearted do sigh, because look at the world now, man. It says, the mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song, strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down, every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is crying for wine in the streets, and when you see wine in the scriptures, that's not always talking about actual wine. Speaking of this wisdom. There's crying for wine in the answers. There's crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. See, the mirth of the land is gone. The Lord is taking away the mirth from the land. Now you have some people who still have fun or try to make the best of it, but it's now you look out into this world in America here. The mirth is gone. I see that. What the NLT says? It says It says, the city rifts and chaos. Every home is locked to keep out intruders. Mobs gathering in the streets, crying out for wine. Why are they crying out for wine? They're crying out for answers. They're seeking something. Because it says in the book of Habakkuk, he put the bottle to his mouth. Or in Jeremiah, it says the nations have it's roughly paraphrasing. Speaking of wine, matter of fact, let's just get it. I think it's 51. Yep. Babylon, Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon, which is America, had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. The Lord's name is Yahweh, and His Son's name is Yahweh Shai. That made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. And that wine represents, philosophies, different, doctrines and stuff like that. Now if we look it up, I'm pretty sure it was not going to tell us that. But let me see. Yeah, it just says wine. By implication, intoxication, banqueting, wine bibber, right? So let's go back to Isaiah 24. Let's read that in the NLT again. It says, mobs gather in the streets crying out for wine. Joy has turned to gloom. Gladness has been banished from the land. So the gladness from these people are gone. People are in mourning now. They're in the mourning state. It's going to get much, much worse. This is Jeremiah 25:10. Now this was speaking to the Israelites going into captivity. But we can still compare spiritual things with spiritual, right? It says, moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones and the light of the candle. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. Now this was talking about the Israelites and the other nations serving the king of Babylon, for 70 years. But we can equate this to today. We're still in captivity. We're still, and the new king of Babylon is who? The president of the United States, Donald Trump. But the Lord has taken away the mirth, the voice of of gladness, and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. Marriage. People are in a mirthful state, but the Lord is taking that away, as we see. You know, let's get Ecclesiastes 12. I like this one. 12. I started at 1. It says, "Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not." We're in the evil days now, but don't wait until all hell breaks loose and then you want to seek the Lord. Do it now while you have the time. It says, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. The Lord he can still be found. Mirth, the doors of mercy and repentance are still open. Just a little bit, but they're still open. Right? It says, "Nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. And the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, which are workers." Work nowadays is a lot of people are losing their jobs. "And those that look out the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the singing of the grinding is low," right? Work. "And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low." And the music today is trash. But usually when you listen to music, you're chilling, you're vibing out. That's what people do. They sit out in the front or in the backyard somewhere, chilling, vibing out, drinking. They having a good time. But now people still do it, but not as much as they used to. Now it's an escape. They're trying to escape from their problems, trying to escape from reality. That's why people, do drugs. We drink wine, we drink alcohol, to a extent. You see, and this is what's going to turn to. This is always going to come to at the end, right? The second Ezra 16 and 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows, that's what we see, and great mournings. The beginning of famine and great death. The beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. It says, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. And in times we're in, we're seeing sorrows and mournings. People complain about everything: jobs, gas, bills, rent, housing. The housing market is off the charts, man. But the Lord has taken the mirth away from this land, man. Now people do still have, a little fun. They try to do little events here and there, to get the people's spirit back up. But that's really more of an escape from the problems that they have, and escape from reality. We to an extent try to escape, from the problems that we deal with. But we reside in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. We don't put our trust in these devices here on earth. So the Lord has removed the mirth from America, and soon it's gonna get much, much worse. But Lord willing was edifying. You got something out of this. We don't give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutation to the full elect. Rules always edified. Tell us what I'm going to say. Shalom.